Every time a new wave hits, AI, crypto, the next miracle asset, the next platform promising overnight wealth, there is a man who loses his mind. He abandons his plan, moves his money, tells his friends, and rides the surge with complete certainty. And then he sits in the wreckage and calls it bad luck. That man is not unlucky. He is owned. He does not control his decisions. The crowd does. The ticker does. The influencer with 800,000 followers does. And until he understands what is actually happening to him in those moments, it will happen again. Every single time. Epictetus said it plainly. Men are disturbed not by things, but by their opinions about things. The market does not move you. The AI hype does not move you. What moves you is what you have decided those things mean. And in a hype cycle, you have outsourced that decision to the loudest voices in the room. That is not investing. That is not strategy. That is a man handing his will over to strangers and calling it opportunity. This is where the inner work has to come first. Not as a warm-up, but as the foundation that makes everything else possible. Because the strategic moves we will talk about today are worthless to a man who cannot hold his position under pressure. Self-governance is not a personality trait. It is a skill you either build deliberately or forfeit every single time the crowd surges. Now read the outer game, because there is one and most people refuse to see it clearly. Hype cycles are not accidents. They are engines, and engines have operators. When a new AI tool launches with promises of automated wealth, when a token triples in 72 hours, when every financial commentator is suddenly an expert on the same asset, ask the Machiavellian question: who benefits from your urgency? Not your considered participation, your urgency, your fear of being left behind, your compulsion to act before you think. Machiavelli wrote that the wise man must always choose the path that has been beaten by great men and imitate those who have been most excellent. He was not talking about following trends. He was talking about studying how power actually operates, understanding the mechanics beneath the surface that most men never bother to learn. A hype cycle, stripped of its excitement, is a wealth transfer mechanism. It moves capital from men governed by emotion to men governed by strategy. The first group is large and loud. The second group is small and quiet. Every single time. Here is the architecture of every hype wave, from tulipmania to .com to NFTs to the AI gold rush happening right now in 2026. Phase 1. A genuine innovation or opportunity emerges. This part is real. There is something there. Phase 2. Early movers gain, stories spread, prices rise. Phase 3. The crowd sees the rising prices and interprets them as proof of the opportunity, which drives prices higher, which attracts more of the crowd. Notice what has happened. The evidence people are using to justify their decision is the crowd's own behavior. It is circular, it is self-reinforcing, and it has nothing to do with the underlying value. Phase 4. The men who entered in phases 1 and 2 begin to exit quietly into the demand the crowd is providing. Phase 5. The crowd is now holding the bag. The price collapses. The men who sold quietly are already elsewhere. The crowd calls it a crash and waits for the next wave. You are being played. Not by a conspiracy, by a predictable mechanism that has run in identical form for 400 years. The question is not whether the next wave is real. Some of them are. The question is whether you are positioned as a sovereign making a considered move, or as a pawn providing exit liquidity for people who entered 6 months before you heard about it. So here is the framework: 4 moves. Not inspiration, actual positions to take. First move, install a mandatory delay. The cardinal rule of every hype cycle is urgency. You must act now. The window is closing. Everyone else is already in. That urgency is engineered. It is the mechanism. Your counterweapon is time. Make it a non-negotiable personal rule. No major financial decision made within 48 hours of first encountering a strong emotional pull toward it. Write it down. The rule is not flexible. You do not negotiate with the urgency. You impose the delay and observe what happens to your certainty after 48 hours of not consuming content about that asset. In most cases, the certainty evaporates. That is the answer you needed. Second move, separate the innovation from the price. This is the Machiavellian clarity move. When AI tools emerge that genuinely change productivity, that is real. When a token's price triples on news of a partnership, the price movement tells you nothing about underlying value. It tells you about the crowd's current emotion. These are two entirely different questions. Ask them separately. Is this innovation real and durable? That is the strategic question. Is the current price reflecting that or reflecting crowd momentum? That is the tactical question. Most men collapse these two questions into one and answer both with the price chart. The sovereign treats them as distinct and requires honest answers to both before committing a dollar. Third move, define your position before the wave, not during it. Marcus Aurelius did not decide his values in the middle of a crisis. He had drilled them in the quiet so that in the storm, he had only to execute. Before you are swept up in the next wave, and there will always be a next wave, define your position in writing. What percentage of my resources am I willing to place in high-risk speculative positions? What is my exit condition if this goes against me? What is my exit condition if it surges beyond my original thesis? Put these numbers on paper when you are calm. Then when the storm hits, you are not making decisions. You are executing a plan made by the version of you that was thinking clearly. The man who does not do this will make his decisions at the peak of emotional intensity, which is precisely when his judgment is least reliable and the crowd is most wrong. Fourth move, treat every hype cycle as a training ground for sovereignty. This is the power reframe. You do not have to participate to benefit. Every wave that passes while you hold your position is proof that you govern yourself. Every time the crowd surges and you stay grounded, you are strengthening the very faculty, deliberate will, that separates the sovereign from the pawn. Seneca said, "He who is everywhere is nowhere. The man who chases every wave builds no position, accumulates no real advantage, and exhausts himself in constant reaction." The sovereign builds slowly, holds deliberately, and allows the crowd's chaos to create the conditions he then moves into on his own terms, not theirs. This is where the outer strategy and the inner discipline meet and become one thing. The Stoic inner work, detachment, delayed gratification, ruling your own mind, is not separate from the Machiavellian outer game. It is the prerequisite for it. You cannot read the board clearly while the crowd's excitement is running through your nervous system. You cannot take the patient, strategic position when FOMO is screaming in your ear. The man who has not done the inner work is permanently available to be played. The man who has is a different kind of opponent. You are building something, not just a portfolio, a disposition, a quality of mind that does not bend under social pressure or market noise. That is the real asset. And unlike a token, it cannot be taken from you when the price corrects. Here is the stance you leave with. The next time a wave builds, and it is building right now, somewhere around something, you are not a man who must decide under pressure. You are a man who has already decided. You know your position. You have your delay installed. You have separated innovation from crowd emotion. You move when you choose to move, at your own pace, on your own terms. The crowd can surge. Let it. You are not the pawn providing the exit liquidity. You are the strategist watching the board from a position of command. That is what sovereignty looks like in the arena that most men lose their minds in. Not indifference to opportunity. Clear-eyed presence that cannot be stampeded. If this is the kind of thinking you want to keep building, subscribe to STOLVEX and join the newsletter. Every week, the same iron-clear framework, applied to the real game being played around you. The link is below. Keep rising.